Each year I partake in the 52 game challenge. I've done multiple videos about it in the past. It's where you aim to beat 52 games in a year, so effectively just one a week. Well, this year I wanted to spice it up a little, as last year I hit a milestone in my time gaming on the Xbox, when I hit that 1 million gamer score. But after this it made me realise that even though I buy and play a lot of PlayStation games, I felt like I was neglecting the system. Going into this challenge, I only had 149 platinum trophies. Yes, this may seem like a lot, but when compared to my gamer score output, it's barely started. Sadly, the footage I'm putting in now was recorded after I got the platinums for this video. Sorry. So what am I on about? I plan on putting up videos throughout the year talking about what I've finished and how easy or difficult it was to obtain. I originally thought about doing this for every 5 or so games, but not all games are created equal and definitely some take longer than others. So I've decided to just put out a video every time I think I've hit a good number to talk about. I did toy with the idea of a monthly recap, but it could always happen that I don't get a platinum in a month or it spills over into the next. After my last 52 game challenge video, I thought it makes sense to do these as and when, instead of at the end of the year when I'm going to 100% forget about some of the things I played. I also plan on trying to play as many physical games as possible, but some will either not have a physical or I might have played them through PlayStation Plus. If I'm paying for that service, I might as well use it. But what I'm not going to do is sit here and do a whole bunch of those press X 1,000 times for a platinum games. Yes, there'll be quick games on the list, but these will be ones I want to play again even after I've achieved the platinum, as they were just games I wanted to play anyway. There will be one in this first video that falls into that category. Well, I'll shut up on this intro now and just talk about the games I've finished so far. At the time of writing, it's the 21st of January 2025, and I'm sitting at a respectable 7 platinums. So what were they? Since this is just a platinum trophy challenge, I'm including games I've started before and knocking out of the backlog, so as long as the platinum is earned this year, it counts. I bring this up as this is one I earned at 12:02 AM on January 1st. I was playing Cotton Fantasy on New Year's Eve and realised I could line up ringing in the new year with the first platinum on the challenge being knocked off. If you haven't played Cotton Fantasy, it's a side-scrolling shmup where you play a witch on a broom trying to retrieve willow candy. Yeah, it's as weird as it sounds, but this was the first new entry in the long-running Cotton series for over 20 years, I believe. If I'm wrong, let me know. But I don't need to bore you with what a shmup is, the footage will show you that. But how hard is the platinum trophy and how long did it take? This is where beating one of these kinds of games is usually a daunting task, but Cotton Fantasy is a breeze. All the game asks of you is to beat its short 30-minute runtime with 8 different characters, some with trophies tied to using their special abilities during your run, finish a level with no damage, and to avoid any of the bonus icons that pop up at the end of a stage. Finishing a level without taking any damage might be the most difficult for people new to the genre, but even then you will knock this out within a few tries. You know you have done this when you get a no-hit bonus at the end of the level. Strangely, one of the characters doesn't have a traditional way of dying. Their run is more like a time trial, and when you get hit you lose time. I found that I would get no-hit bonuses using this character all the time, as the timer never hit 0. I can't say if this unlocks the trophy, but if it does, it's a simple way of doing it. The hardest trophy is by far dodging all the falling teacups at the end of a stage, but even this isn't difficult, and if you don't get this on your first try, you'll most likely get it on your second. Also, I must add, you can use as many continues as you want to see the end of the game, so effectively, you have infinite lives. If this wasn't a possibility, this would have been a tough one to see to the end. Overall, the game only takes about 4 to 5 hours to have the platinum unlocked. I also had a great bit of fun with this one, so I recommend it for the trophy hunters out there. Not very often you get to talk about an easy shmup. Second up was a game I knew absolutely nothing about going into it. I grabbed this as it was super cheap on eBay and I'd never seen it before. The quest for Excalibur is basically a series of minigames broken up with a hub world. You run around this big, crowded, but somehow still lifeless park, talking to people and being thrown into games of varying quality. The whole time I was playing, I kept thinking this was giving me theme park vibes from something like the Thrillville games or something, but just 10 times more boring. So I wasn't surprised when I found out this was based on a French theme park / set of shows, all with a medieval fantasy theme and what appears to have a lightly educational tone to it. The name of the theme park is the subtitle to the game, but having never heard of it, how was I to know? I kept telling myself I wasn't going to try and pronounce it. Sorry for this, I speak no French or know anything about how this is supposed to be pronounced, so here goes. Puy de feu? Puy de feu? That's the only time I'm attempting that in this section, don't worry. Well, for this platinum, what do you have to do? Basically, just run distance in the park, find all the world's collectibles, complete all the minigames, and then repeat some of them in practice mode on hard difficulty. Most of the minigames have a set score you need to reach to unlock their trophies, but most of these you'll hit with ease. Sadly, you can't just play the game on hard and knock out everything in one go. Hard mode only seems to be available when you play the practice mode, so you'll be repeating tasks. This might also not be one for you if you struggle with rhythm games, as this contains a few, with beating the music challenge probably being the hardest. This is more because the game doesn't always register your inputs, so if something requires multiple presses of buttons, you can almost guarantee it will miss one until you fluke a perfect run. If you're not a big fan of collectibles though, you're in luck. After you finish all the minigames for the first time, it gives you an arrow on screen to follow to mop everything up you've missed. There are also some side quests, but these are usually just locating something or taking something to someone, so it's just more walking around the park. There was one side quest that didn't tell me what I had to do, but it turns out I just had to pick up all the items in a time limit and avoid some empty chests, which I swear I tried multiple times, but in the end it said I completed it. If you're not scared off by the rhythm sections, I would say this is a very easy 4 to 5 hour completion, with most of it being mind-numbingly easy. The rhythm sections I would give a 4 out of 10 for difficulty for people who aren't into that sort of game, but overall I wouldn't recommend this to anyone. When I picked this up I was hoping it was some kind of janky, cheap RPG. I was sorely disappointed when I popped it in the console. Game number 3 was one that I had completed before on the Xbox, but I've been dying to jump back into it on the PS4. That game was Avicii Invector, a rhythm game set to Avicii's music while you ride tracks and fly about in a spaceship. I'm not a big fan of Avicii's music, but if you like rhythm games I will always suggest this one. It feels more like a celebration of music and something more along the lines of games like Sayonara Wild Hearts than anything super intense. But saying that, going into this one blind, it'll be a toughie. The gameplay revolves around pressing buttons in time with the music as they come down the screen at you, but at the same time, you will have to keep rotating the track to hit the notes which appear to the sides or above you. There are sections of each level where you also leave the track and go into an almost Star Fox-like mode where you have to fly through rings to keep your streak going. I found these free flight bits actually added something different to the game and broke up the fast-paced rhythm action. You can also build up a boost which sends the ship hurtling forward at mad speeds, but hitting notes in this state increases their score, a bit like Star Power in Guitar Hero. The game is just a list of skill-dependent trophies. Yes, you will unlock quite a few in your first few songs, such as hitting all the gates in a flying section, maybe hitting 5 perfects in a row, beating your first song, or 25% perfects, but from here on out, it's jumping in difficulty. The game wants you to finish all songs on any setting, then it will slowly ramp up the difficulty, and you'll have to start getting things like A ranks on 20 levels. This isn't too hard, as this can be done on easy. Then getting an S rank on 10 levels. Again, if you've done the A ranks, going up another notch isn't too hard. It then jumps up quicker with wanting you to hit S+ ranks on each difficulty, these being easy, medium and hard. For these, if you miss more than 2 notes, you might as well start again, but they are doable. The 2 hardest trophies in the game which will probably stop people from getting the platinum are hit 15 perfects in a row and 75% perfects in a song. What this means is the game scores your accuracy of notes you hit, so you have to hit each one with a perfect, meaning your timing was on point. For 15 in a row, just hit 15 perfect notes in a row. Simple. Well, not really. The timing windows in this game can be a little off. While you're playing this for casual fun, you won't really notice how inconsistent the notes are, but when you actually attempt to go for 15 in a row, you'll see it's a bit of a struggle. The song For a Better Day on easy is your friend here, as it gives you 16 simple notes in a row which are just one button, but you'll still find this pretty frustrating. Or you may have just got lucky and hit this while playing the game naturally. You never know. But this is nothing compared to the 75% perfects for all the notes in a song. This is where most people fail. There used to be a workaround for this, but unless you live in Europe where the game is released physically, you're out of luck and you're going to have to get good. It's not impossible and the first song in easy is your friend, but unless you're used to the game, expect many hours of trial and error. If you have the physical disc for this one, it won't be an easy game, but it's probably a 6 out of 10 difficulty. If you're playing the digital version though, you're looking at more of an 8 out of 10. I'd say play this one for fun. Going for the platinum on it isn't for everyone. I'm really sorry if you start hearing loud rain noises in the background of all my audio now. It has started to hammer it down. And I'm recording all this in one day, so unless the rain pisses off, it's going to be in the background. Sorry. Don't worry, I will try to cut out as much of the rain noise as I can. What is there to say about Creepy Road other than me just trying to dissuade you from playing it? It's a run and gun action platformer, with awful graphics that look like something from an old mobile phone game, terrible pacing, and collision detection that will cause you to get killed more than just the enemies will. This one came into my possession when I took a trip to Forgotten Worlds up in Scotland. I'd never heard of it, and I'm on a quest to find all the PS4 horror games, and from the cover this looked like it needed to come home with me. The game doesn't ask much from you in the line of trophies when going for the platinum. All it asks is that you complete the game, die a certain number of times, kill a certain number of enemies, find a couple secrets, and complete a boring shmup section without dying. First of all, the shmup section is a stupid trophy. If you die, you always start back from the beginning of the level, so you have to beat it without dying anyway. It should have been called Beat It Without Restarting, as you will have to back out and reload it for the menu if you mess up. It's just adding a pointless step to a pointless trophy. All the secrets can be found using the level select, and there's only 2, so this can be done super quickly at the end of the game if you don't accidentally stumble across them on your way. Where this game becomes a frustrating mess though is the bosses. There's no indication on how you expect to beat them. The amount of damage you do to them also seems random. One attempt your gun may be taking off large chunks of health, and the next time it's small slithers. Also, the window in which they take damage seems all over the place. But at the end of the day, they're all pretty simple. That is apart from the third one. Here you face off against a koala in a mech suit, and the hit detection of his missiles and the timing required to jump over his Gatling gun is ridiculous and incredibly inconsistent. This got me a tad on the angry side, as it never felt fair, like it was my fault that I'd failed. But somehow, with all my attempts, this still didn't hit the last trophy I needed, which was die 300 times in total. This really is one I would avoid unless you want a platinum that not many people have gone after. Strangely, this has region exclusive stacks if you want to do it twice. Count me out for that though. I'd say it's only about a 4 out of 10 difficulty, but most of that is for the koala boss alone. Terrible game. Probably doesn't fit within the horror subset either. Well, hopefully not. I don't want people going for the set to have to spend money on this turd. Here's the game that I mentioned that could be done in about 30 minutes, but I will continue to play in the future. It's Cannon Dancer, or Osman? I don't know how it's pronounced. I think it's more known as Osman, but I prefer the name Cannon Dancer, so that's the way I'm going to refer to it. It was released back in 1996 as a spiritual successor to Strider and made by ex-Capcom staff. It has a bit of a different setting that you don't really see in games, which is described as a cyberpunk Arabian setting. It's quite cool. Being a retro platformer, the game doesn't ask that much from you in the way of trophies. It was also ported to the PS5 by Ratchet Games, so you know there won't be much thought into the list. All it wants you to do is beat the game, max out your life, max out your powers, kill enemies with certain moves, and finish the last boss with a special attack. For some reason though, they tied all the trophies to this game's challenge mode, which is to play it as if you were back in the arcades with set lives and continues, and I'm going to have to say this isn't an easy game at all if you're playing it this way. But the game also includes enhancements, such as invincibility. If you use these though, you'll get a warning saying you cannot use these in the challenge mode, but this doesn't actually do anything. They still work, making this game a complete breeze. This makes the game easily a 1 out of 10 difficulty, and it doesn't look like they plan on patching this out anytime soon. I decided to include this one though, as I really enjoyed the game and I will come back to it and try to get good at it, and actually beat the challenge mode legit. The price for this is a bit on the high side if you want the physical copy, so I could only recommend it really as a digital download, especially with its short length if you just want the platinum. But it is a really fun game. All the other games I was working my way through pretty quickly, so I wanted to play something a bit longer. Something exclusive to the PlayStation that I've been wanting to play forever, from a franchise I'd always had good fun with. So I had to install Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. When I first saw this announced for the PS5 and they were touting that this game could only ever be achieved on a PS5, I was sceptical. And after playing this, I'm pretty sure they could have got this running on the PS4. But they needed a title for the new gen, and this was a perfect fit. The game looks and plays fantastic, and the usual Ratchet and Clank gameplay and humour is here. Although the story isn't anything spectacular, it kept me hooked enough that I didn't get bored, and the switching between different characters and realities was pretty cool, even though it never really changed any of the gameplay all that much. The Clank puzzles though still felt unneeded. I won't spoil the game though, as I advise anyone into run and gun 3D platformers to pick this one up. You won't have a bad time with it. But what does it ask of you for the Platinum Trophy? Impressively, not that much at all. It wants you to beat the game, grab some collectibles, kill some enemies using different weapons, and unlock all said weapons. None of this is difficult at all. And there isn't a large number of collectibles, and keeping track of the ones you're missing is really easy from the Planet Select screen. The only ones you cannot see if you're missing is the Krager Bears, but there's only 9 of these, and most of them I found through natural play. Just make sure you have all of the trophies apart from unlocking all the guns before starting a new game plus, as the final 2 required for the trophy are in the first shop when you load it up again. And that's it, the Platinum done. It only took me around 17 hours to complete, and nothing was difficult or felt like a chore. This was a joy to play through from start to finish, and would happily do it again. The 7th and final Platinum Trophy I'm going to talk about today is Valentino Rossi the game. This is effectively MotoGP 16, I think. This is a strange one to go for the Platinum on, but yet again it's one I've beat before on the Xbox. I knew I could complete it rather quickly and get it out of the PlayStation backlog. This isn't usually the type of game I would double dip on, but I found it years ago for £1 in a charity shop, so it just got added to the collection to one day be played. This is your standard MotoGP game, but it also includes some dirt bikes and rally events. The toughest part of the Platinum is getting the online trophies done, as it is dead online, and pretty much has been since it came out. I was lucky to have some help getting these out of the way quickly from Big Game Al. I'll put a link to his channel in the description below. A word of warning, I have the online done for this, but he doesn't. For some reason, not all the races are counting, but we're slowly chipping away at it for him. So be aware the online might be rather buggy. Other than some online gameplay modes, all the game asks of you is to win 3 careers, Moto3, Moto2 and MotoGP, max out your custom rider's skills, drive distance in each type of vehicle, beat some scenarios, and then beat all the time trials. Most of this game can be played on very easy, so nothing is hard as long as you can stay on the bike. The last few time trials may give newcomers to this type of game a bit of a challenge, but nothing anyone couldn't beat. Overall I enjoyed playing through this one again, and I would give it probably about a 4 out of 10 difficulty, but it did take me over 35 hours to finish. So that's it, the first 7 Platinums under my belt for 2025. It's a right weird mix of games, but it always is when I'm playing anything. I've recently seen that another YouTuber, Superpants Gaming, is also doing a 52 Platinum challenge. I'm going to have to keep an eye on what he plays through to get some inspiration if I'm flagging. I'll leave a link to his channel in the description. I have a rough idea of the games I intend on playing, but it's always subject to change, so I won't reveal any of them until they're done. But if you do want a sneak peek, I always post what I have recently finished over on my Instagram page, which again is linked in the description. I've said description too many times. It feels too YouTubery. Right, I'm off to try and platinum some more games. Have fun, people.